Hi everyone, this is all about textures with Kathleen Clemons. In this video, I want to show you how to remove texture or mask the texture from selected areas of your photo. So let's get started. Here's the Cosmos photo from video 1, and remember we added my rose painting texture to it, but obviously I want to remove it from the flower itself. I want to take the color out and the texture, because if I leave the texture all over this photo, I have flattened my cosmos into the background and I want it to stand out as the star of my image. I certainly don't want it compressed into the background. So the first thing that I need to do is create a layer mask. So I'm going to come down here to the bottom of my layers palette and click on the icon that looks like a front-loading washing machine. That's a good way to remember it. And you can see Add Layer Mask comes up. So I'll click on that and you can see that now I have a layer mask. Now, because the layer mask is white, I'm going to need a black brush. So I'll have black be my foreground color. You can see that my brush is now selected, and I'm going to choose a soft brush. You can click here to choose the hardness of your brush. I like to use a soft brush. And the opacity to start, I'm going to start on the areas that are most in focus. So I'm going to want to pull that opacity up to about 75%. I really don't ever mask at 100%. I can go over an area more than once if I need additional masking, but I don't ever want the subject to look like it's pasted on the background, especially around the edges. I wouldn't use 100%. 75% is a good area to start for me. Okay, now I need to choose my brush size. You can do this with the bracket keys as well, making your brush larger or smaller. I like to just use this. Okay, now I'm going to come in and just start painting. You can see the color starting to come back. I'm just clicking and holding, releasing my mouse, and just bringing that color back. Now I'm avoiding the edges. As you can see, I'll do those at a different opacity with a smaller brush. I can get through the main larger sections with this size brush. Now I'm going to come down and I'll reduce the size of my brush. And I'm going to lessen the opacity as well. Now I'll go and do closer to the edge. Still not right on the very edge. I'll do that in even less opacity. And you'll notice I'm doing this at 100%. You want your subject really large on your screen so that you can get in close and be more accurate with your masking. Okay, now I'm going to go even smaller, even less opacity, right around those edges. And it's okay to leave a little bit of a subtle texture right on the edge. And I'm not going to mask the areas that are not in focus. I'll let those merge into the background. I don't have a problem with that at all. Okay, let's say that I made a mistake. Let's say that I mask, let's pull up the opacity so you can really see, that I made a mistake and I masked and pulled the background in. There's a really easy fix for that. I'll just come over and switch to white and I can paint that back on. Definitely good to know. So you don't have to stress too much about while you're masking, because if you make a mistake, you know you can correct it. Now to get that stem, I've got to go even smaller, pull my opacity down. And the stem had somewhat of a yellow color. I'm not even going to mask the whole thing because I don't mind the texture coming in and simplifying the edge of the stem. I wouldn't want a hard line coming down to the edge anyway, so you can see the texture is over the stem. That's perfectly fine. Just fine tune this. So let's have a look at my before and after. Without the texture and with the texture masked away. Now I'd probably go in and do very close to the edge at a low opacity. You can see I'm only at 16% now, and finish that up. But you can see the masking is quite easy. Now let's go back to the egret and do that as well. Okay, now the first thing we need to do with the layer mask again is come down to the little washing machine icon. You can see that now I have a layer mask. My black brush is in the foreground. So let's see, 75% would be a good start with this. I think the brush size will work well. Notice that I'm at 100%, so I get a good view of my subject. Just going to come in and mask the feathers with the egret, bringing back that detail so that it will stand out in the scene. Okay, let's pull down the size of that brush, and I'm moving toward the edges, so I'm going to lessen the opacity. And I can look over here, it's kind of small, and see what's being affected. And remember, if you make a mistake, just change the color of your brush and you can put that texture right back on. Okay, I'm going to go even less for the legs. Because I'm at such a low opacity, it doesn't matter if I'm going a little over. And I'm going to go even smaller for the beak, though you can't see a lot of texture on that. Okay, now I have a decision to make about this reflection. Do I want to leave it in the texture? I think I want to reduce it, but not as much as I did in the bird. So let's try about a little over 20%. Get a larger brush and just reduce it a little bit so that this still stands out as the most important part. I think I want to go up a little more, maybe 35%. There. So it doesn't stand out as the main subject, but there's still a little bit of texture on it. Okay, that's basically it for masking. You would flatten your layers when you're all finished. The texture is the last thing that I do to a photo. I've made all my other adjustments first, and the masking would be the very last thing that I would do. And then I could, if I'm satisfied with it and I don't want to make any other changes, I can flatten my layers and save it. If you have any questions, please email me, Kathleen Clemons @me.com.